Hello everyone, today is 10th of September, now it's 1:30 middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update for the day in which I'll share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. And there are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you. For this moment, although before I start, let me notice, dear friends, that I receive many comments from members of our community with the questions about situation with the school. I mentioned once during the update, and also I spoke about it in behind the scenes programs on my Patreon and their Boosty pages. We had some we were experiencing some issues with the school here in Moscow. Several schools refused to accept us due to lack of free spaces. And it was stressful, obviously, but situation is resolved now. One of the schools contacted us and they offered their place in the school, and it's just some formal steps left now. And this week we will our younger daughter will go to school, so it's all okay now. It's all okay. So thank you all, dear friends, for your attention and good wishes. That's being said, let's talk about news now. And first of all, short summary of the situation on Ukrainian battlefield. And well, we have quite a number of updates in this regard. Yesterday, in second update, I mentioned that Russian armed forces established control over the Vadiana, and today Russian Defense Ministry confirmed this information. So on South Donetsk sector, Russian troops conducted successful local-scale offensive operations and established control over the Redis settlement, Vadiana, and there are several strongholds of the Kyiv regime. And this is, of course, South Donetsk sector of the front line. And if you take a look at the map, by the way, it is clearly, looks like Ugledar is at least partially encircled, and all the main supply and support lines for Ugledar garrison is under Russian artillery control, artillery fire control. Russian troops are continuing further progress in this direction, and there are a number of strongholds of the Kyiv regime are under constant fire. And I guess Russian troops in about, I'm not gonna do predictions, but most likely in fairly short time, Russian troops will reach Bogoyavlenka settlement on the north of Ugledar, and most likely Russian troops will conduct some local scale offensive operations towards Novoukrainka settlement, so that Ugledar will become completely encircled. Let's see if that's what is going to happen, but it seems to me logical steps from a Russian point of view to conduct of pincer offensives towards Bogoyavlenka and Novoukrainka to encircle Ugledar and Kyiv regime forces in this town. Russian troops further continuing offensive operations from Konstantinovka, and the reports are that Russian troops are on outskirts of Katerinovka settlement, which is also important development, of course. Russian troops further advance on southern flank of Pokrovsk sector, and well, now we have reports that confirmations basically from Russian Defense Ministry that Russian troops established control over their several settlements in this direction. Krasnogorovka under full Russian control now. Russian Defense Ministry confirmed this information, which means that these two districts of the city that are located, as you can see, separately from the main body of the town, are under full Russian control now, and Russian troops are moving towards Alexandropol town. Also, by the way, Russian troops are according to some reports, Russian troops already established control over the Zhelaya Первая and Zhelaya Второе settlements, although Ukrainian sources deny information that Russian troops are in control of Zhelaya Второе. Difficult to say, but it is obvious that Kyiv regime's forces in between Krasnogorovka and Jelana Perve are now trapped, and well, they might try to escape, but most likely they will have no option but to fight to the bitter end or lay down arms and surrender. It was predictable that they will end up in cold room. I spoke about it. Many other channels mentioned this, and they are in the cold room now. Also, Russian troops conducting offensive operation on southern flank of Selidova settlement, and reports are that Lisovka under full Russian control, and Russian troops are conducting operations to establish control over the Ukrainsk settlement. Some channels are suggesting or reporting that Ukrainsk is already under Russian control. Also, Russian troops further improving positions on northern flank of Pokrovsk sector towards Mirnograd and Pokrovsk itself, although we are not yet receiving any information about battles inside the Mirgorod. Russian troops basically are improving their positions on outskirts of the city, and probably during this week, maybe next week, we will see beginning of their Mirnograd operation offensive. Also, interesting developments are happening, by the way, in Chisover direction. Russian troops further advancing in New York Pokrovsk areas, New York Toretsk areas, sorry. But very important news came from Chisovyar direction, because according to Russian Defense Ministry's confirmation, Russian armed forces established full control over the Grigorievka settlement on the northern side of Chisovyar. Somewhat surprising information. I guess Russian troops conducted some lightning speed operation, and their Kyiv regime's formations were not ready to repel Russian attack, and they flee this settlement. So Russian troops clearly are advancing on the northern flank of Chisovyar, and it seems to me that Russian troops are not intent to conduct frontal assault on Chisovyar. Probably Russian troops are going to encircle this city step by step. And the liberation of Grigorievka is definitely can be seen as an indicator of that. Russian troops conducting serious strikes, long-range missile and artillery strikes on Kyiv regime strongholds in Seversk direction, although right now there are no reports about some breakthrough on Seversk direction. Also, Russian troops are conducting artillery preparations in Kupiansk sector of the front line on the northern flank of Kharkiv region, and Russian troops are established further improving positions in Makievka settlement and in Kupiansk area itself. This is Kupiansk direction, by the way, and as you can see, Russian troops are actively shelling Kyiv regime's points of concentration of the Kyiv regime in this direction, and this is definitely an indicator that in relatively short time Russian forces are going to start offensive operation, sectoral scale offensive operation in Kupiansk direction. No crucial changes on the northern flank of Kharkiv sector in Liptsi-Volchansk area, and also no crucial changes on Kursk salient, which is temporarily occupied by Kyiv regime. It has become obvious for everybody at this point, I guess, that Kyiv regime formations are in a trap in this salient, and even Ukrainian bloggers, by the way, Ukrainian journalists are now not just questioning this operation that Kyiv regime and NATO conducted to occupy, to basically invade the Kursk region of the Russian Federation, but Ukrainian bloggers and journalists are now reporting that Kyiv regime is struggling with their narrative, which to be pushed to justify withdrawal, emergency withdrawal of or evacuation of the Kyiv regime's forces and their NATO mercenaries from Kursk salient, because situation for them is dire. Russian troops tightening this operational control over this salient. Russian Air Force is hammering Kyiv regime's formations, and their casualty numbers are speaking volume, is not it? According to Russian Defense Ministry, Kyiv regime already lost in this salient more than 11,000 military personnel and more than 1,000 different pieces of military equipment, which is huge, by the way, which is definitely a huge number. Overall, of course, Russian troops have initiative all along the front line, and no matter how hard Kyiv regime gonna try, there is no way they're gonna gain initiative on any of the direction. And also, by the way, Russian troops, when they're further intensifying operations in Kherson direction to establish control over the more and more islands in the Dnieper Delta and on the river itself. And some channels are suggesting that Russian troops even cross Dnieper River in certain directions and establish foothold on the right bank of the Dnieper River. Of course, without video or photo confirmation, it is difficult to know for sure, but I would not be surprised at all if Russian troops, at least Russian DRGs, are actively operating on the right bank of the Dnieper River. This is definitely a possibility. That being said, let's talk about some other news now. And first of all, this report from RT and all the other media outlets obviously pay attention to this, that Russia fends off a major Ukrainian drone raid, according to Russian Defense Ministry. So a total of 140 drones have been destroyed or intercepted during the large-scale Ukrainian attack on Russian territory overnight, the Defense Ministry reported. Incoming plane type of drones were shot down over the 9 Russian regions, the ministry said in a statement on Tuesday morning, during the attempt by Kyiv regime to carry out terrorist attacks using unmanned aerial vehicles. Russian air defense systems eliminated 72 drones above Bryansk region, 20 drones above Moscow region, 14 drones above Kursk region, and 13 above Tula region, the ministry said. Elsewhere, 8 drones were destroyed in Belgorod region, 7 drones in Kaluga region, 5 drones in Voronezh region. In the Litecoin region, 4 drones were neutralized and 1 drone over the Oryol region. In the city of Ramenskaya, outside of Moscow, at least 2 apartment blocks were hit during the Ukrainian raid. According to regional governor Andrei Vorobyov, a 46-year-old woman was killed and 3 other people were injured. Vorobyov wrote on the Telegram, a fire broke out in one of their buildings, but it was swiftly extinguished. He added, and this is the building, by the way, as you can see on this photo. Drone clearly directly hit this civilian apartment. Bryansk region governor Alexander Bogomaz wrote on the Telegram that thanks to professionalism of Russian defenders, there were no casualties or destruction. All attacks were repelled. All drone attacks were repelled by Russian air defense forces. So as you can see, dear friends, a large-scale drone attacker from Kyiv regime on Russian Federation. 144 drones were neutralized, but unfortunately, some of the drones managed to bypass air defense systems and hit civilian apartment buildings. And reports are that several injured civilians are in very heavy condition in hospital, and unfortunately 46-year-old woman was killed in Moscow region as a result of this terrorist attack of the Kyiv regime. TASS news agency is also reporting about confirmation of the Russian Defense Ministry that Russian troops liberated Galicinovka, Grigorievka, Krasnogorovka, and Vadiana settlements in Donetsk People's Republic. I already spoke about Russian progress on a line of contact. TASS news agency is reporting that former Russian defense minister Shoigu stated that Russian armed forces since their August and during this first 10 days of September liberated over or around 1,000 square kilometers of the territory from the Kyiv regime, which is quite significant, I will say, quite significant. RT is also reporting that Ukraine has sustained massive losses in Kursk region. I also spoke about it. So Ukraine has lost around 11,400 troops since the launch, since it launched an incursion into Russia's Kursk region last month. The defense ministry in Moscow said on Monday. The Russian military, and this is yesterday's data, by the way, today's update from Russian defense ministry probably will give us additional information, better understanding of the situation, and I guess losses of the Kyiv regime will be higher. But for yesterday, for 9th of September, Kyiv regime, according to Russian Defense Ministry, lost 11,400 military personnel in the Kursk salient. The Russian military has also destroyed over 1,000 units of Ukrainian military hardware, including 89 tanks, 42 infantry fighting vehicles, 74 armored personnel carriers, 635 armored combat vehicles, 371 motor cars, 85 artillery pieces, and 24 multiple rocket launchers, 7 of which were US-made HIMARS system, and many other equipment was also destroyed. Well, significant losses on part of Kyiv regime and their Western backers. TASS news agency is also reporting that, according to article in Wall Street Journal, more and more citizens of Ukraine are in favor of negotiations with Moscow to end the hostilities, and according to Ukrainian militaries, that Wall Street Journal interviewed more and more younger citizens of Ukraine are not just in favor of the negotiations, but are also in favor of ending hostility on not favorable for Kyiv regime conditions, which means that these people are basically understand that if conflict will end right now, Kyiv regime has to agree on Russian terms, and a number of regions of former Soviet Socialist Republic under such a name of Ukraine will have to be recognized as part of Russia. It is what it is. If hostilities end now, but we all understand that hostilities is not gonna end anytime soon, and therefore, in my personal opinion, once this conflict will end, there will be no more Ukraine on the political map. That's it. And dear friends, before I continue, let me notice, if I made that this small media project of mine with several channels on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, is completely subscriber funded, and I will be immensely grateful if you will also consider to support my work and this project with their donations through PayPal or Boosty platform. This is Boosty platform, by the way, or by subscribing to my Patreon page, on which I have some extra content on a regular basis. And once we finally get used to this place, by the way, once we will finally settle in Moscow, I have plans to significantly increase volume of extra content on my Patreon and Boosty pages as my thank to our communities on Patreon and Boosty for their support. And if you can, please consider to join our communities there. I really hope before end of this year, our community on Patreon will reach 200. It is extremely important for survivability of this project, and I hope our community will increase on Boosty also. I mean, it's only 10 of us right now on Boosty. Subscription, by the way, on Patreon starts from $5, and on Boosty from 500 rubles, which is about $6, I guess, approximately, you know. So yes, all the links, by the way, on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to all the members of our community who supported and continues to support my work. Yesterday I published on Patreon and Boosty new episode of Behind the Scenes, so I hope community finds that video interesting. And well, let's continue now. RIA Novosti is reporting that, well, according to media reports, by the way, Kyiv regime is trying to cooperate with the terrorists in Syria, in Idlib province, So I guess Zelensky and his criminal associates want those terrorists to fight on behalf of Kyiv regime in Ukraine. Let me translate this news, by the way, to be more precise. So the Kyiv administration has talks with the representatives of the terrorist organizations Hayat Tahrir al-Sham in Syria to attract militants to operations against Russia. The Turkish newspaper Audin Leak writes, citing sources, the Kyiv administration, which as it turned out cooperated with the PKK and PYD to conduct covert operations against Russian troops in Syria, has now established relationships with the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham terrorists who have occupied Idlib province of the Syria. Local sources reported that in recent months, a Ukrainian delegation visited Idlib and met with the leaders of the terrorist organization. The publication is specifying, and well, is anybody surprised to see this news, sir, in Turkish media and now in Russian media? I don't think so. I don't think so. I am saying that Kyiv regime is a terrorist regime for a reason, and their activity clearly defines this regime as a terrorist one. And I hope Russian leadership will designate the so-called state institutions of the Kyiv regime and the regime itself as a terrorist organization, so that Russian security services, Russian armed forces will have more options to deal with these terrorists than they have right now. Because of course, attitude towards terrorists, we all know that are significantly harsh in every country, by the way, or in majority of the countries, than in regards to legit troops of the enemy. RIA Novosti reported about that. Let's see if Kyiv regime will react on it, but I don't think they will say single word about it, and I'm quite sure Western media outlet not gonna pay any attention to contacts between Kyiv regime and terrorist organizations. Vzгляд newspaper is reporting, and I guess, by the way, Kyiv regime wants not just some terrorists to maybe move to Ukraine to participate in battles, but most likely Kyiv regime wants those terrorists to conduct attacks on Russia itself, inside Russia, and also on Russian contingent, military contingent in Syria. Probably that's the main task of the Kyiv regime when it comes to this cooperation with their terrorist organizations. Vzгляд newspaper is reporting that Netherlands, by the way, allowed Kyiv regime to conduct strikes deep inside Russian territory with their F-16 fighter jets that they provided. Formally, they transferred to Kyiv regime. New level of escalation with Moscow, I will say, from Netherlands, but yet again, is anybody surprised on that? I don't think so. RT is reporting that EU states prime minister accuses world of ignoring Ukraine's Nazi troops. Finally, someone in Europe is paying attention to it, someone on high-ranking position, by the way. Otherwise, of course, many citizens of Europe and even public figures are pointing out this Nazi ideology that is dominating in Ukraine. But when it comes to high-ranking officials, usually they are quiet on that topic. People eager to condemn their atrocities committed by the Third Reich are at the same time turning a blind eye to Ukrainian troops wearing Nazi symbols today. Slovakian Prime Minister Robert Fico has stated, the head of the government gave a speech at the Holocaust Museum located at the former site of the Syria concentration camp on Monday in western Slovakia, in which he highlighted the need to educate new generations about the crimes committed by the Nazis during the World War II before bringing up the Ukraine conflict. We all talk about fascism and Nazism while silently tolerating units moving across Ukraine that have a very clear label and are connected to movements that we consider dangerous and forbidden today. Since it is a geopolitical fight, nobody cares, Fico said. I want to pay tribute to the victims, not with a pathetic speech, but I want to call for action, he added. The international community should recognize that troops using Nazi insignia, who often appear to act as such, cannot fight in Ukraine. Kyiv has embraced as heroes Ukrainian nationalists who collaborated with the Nazi Germany, while their symbols and ideology of the Third Reich have been popular among the growing right-wing forces in their country for decades. The Azov battalion, accused of war crimes and atrocities, is infamous for its open embrace of bigotry and white supremacism. Although its successor unit claims to have mostly eradicated such people from its ranks. Yeah, of course, that's why they are walking around with Nazi insignia, isn't it? So yes, I mean, well done to Pizzo that he is not afraid to piss her off, or to make angry Brussels once again by making such statements. But it is important. It is important, obviously, to educate societies worldwide that are poorly informed and have no idea about issue of Nazism and fascism in Ukraine and how dominant that crazy sick ideology is in modern so-called Ukraine. So well done to Fico for sure. RIA Novosti is reporting that Poland, by the way, changed its mind about US-made HIMARS systems. Earlier there was reports that Poland is planning to buy about 500 HIMARS multi-launch rocket systems, but according to Rzeczpospolita media outlet, Warsaw has changed its mind, and no way Poland is going to buy this number of these weapon systems, which is interesting. I wonder what happened. Maybe Polish militaries are not happy with the effectiveness of HIMARS that they observe in a zone of special military operation. Who knows? But I don't know. It is interesting. It is interesting that seems like highly advertised US weapon systems are losing its attractiveness, even among NATO member states. So, and also point is, I mean, will Washington allow Warsaw to, cut its purchases? I don't know. It might be issue because, U.S. military-industrial complex not gonna be happy about it, isn't it? And they will use their leverage over their government of U.S. to pressure Warsaw to still buy whatever number of weapon systems will be offered by U.S. military-industrial complex, no matter if Warsaw happy with these weapons or not. That's the objective reality, by the way. RT is reporting that EU state police hunting Z enthusiasts, also interesting. So authorities in the Lithuanian city of Klaipėda have launched an investigation into disruption of public order after symbols resembling the letter Z appeared on several cars, buildings, and billboards. The Baltic state, a former Soviet republic, now a member of both NATO and the EU, has made it misdemeanor to display Russian symbols, an act of solidarity with the Ukrainian government and these uneducated idiots in leadership of this so-called state, by the way, Lithuania, They don't even know that this letter Z is not Russian letter. I mean, they can ban movie Zorro. Many members of our community probably are familiar with several iterations of this movie that was made in Europe and in Hollywood, Zorro. And that main hero on that movie was always making this Z letter, living Z letter, isn't it? So, is Lithuania going to ban movie? No. Idiots, man, idiots. And this kind of brainless individuals are in charge of quasi-states. I mean, Lithuania is not a real state, it's a quasi-state, but still, by the way, these idiots are in charge of that territory, and they are making decisions that will influence fate of their citizens of that quasi-state, isn't it? Which is shame, man. I mean, this is crazy. But well done to whoever was trolling, by the way, these Nazis in Lithuania. Well done to them. RT is reporting that Trump only unveils plan to stop the de-dollarization process, and well, he come up with ideas that even in the West, many did not like at all. Nothing to be said about the rest of the world there. I don't think these ideas of Trump will fly. But anyways, let's go through this news. I hope, dear friends, you not hear sound of these coolers that are going crazy due to overheating of their notebook. Just 2 more news and I will end this update. Hopefully, notebook not gonna turn off. So, Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump has claimed that dumping the US dollar will be extremely costly for foreign countries which pursue their policy, adding that they will face unprecedented import taxes for pursuing a non-dollar trade. Speaking to his supporters during the campaign rally in Wisconsin on Sunday, the former US president pledged to maintain their status of their greenback as the world's reserve currency, emphasizing that it is under major siege as a growing number of states have been turning to other ways of settling trades. You leave the dollar and you are not doing business with the US because we are going to put a 100% tariff on your goods, Trump stated. A broader trend towards using national currencies instead of the greenback has gained momentum following the massive economic restrictions introduced against Russia by the US and its allies in the wake of their escalation of the Ukrainian conflict in February 2022. And this is exactly the reason. I mean, it says it all, isn't it? Reason why countries are moving away from dollar or from euro or from pound, by the way, or from any other Western currency is that our Western financial and banking system have been weaponized immensely by Western ruling class. This is the reason, and it is sad to see that Trump don't understand that. Right? Even Russian president, by the way, said that Russia had no plans to move away from dollar. Russia was trading in dollars quite happily, but now Russia cannot do so. At least in the volumes that it was doing trade before, due to these restrictions that was imposed on Russia by US, by the way, and EU member states. So if Trump wants to punish whoever is guilty, if it's the right word, of smashing dollar, and he should turn against the Western ruling class, right? I mean, what good it will do for US or for US, let's say, if US will impose now 100% tariffs on all countries that will trade with other countries with some other currencies. I mean, how US gonna benefit from that? This step will further intensify process of the dollarization, right? it seems like Western ruling elites and these Western politicians, Western elites, they are unable to understand or realize their own mistakes. They cannot see their own mistakes. Seems like they think they are unmistakable or something, you know. Look at the mirror, for God's sake. That's all you need. Because you are generating most of the problems that you are facing. And I'm talking about Western elites, obviously, or ruling class of the collective West. So I don't know. Let's see if yesterday I saw a report that according to latest poll of New York Times, or one of their outlets, by the way, it was conducted with cooperation to one of the big names in US. According to that poll, Trump was leading. Trump was leading in elections, and if elections was conducted now, he would win. But yet again, as I said there many times before, until November, we're gonna see so many polls and predictions and stuff that it's hard to tell what will really happen, isn't it? And I will end this update on this news from Interfax news agency that Italy's government is considering to further increase tourist taxes, which means that hotels in Italy will have to pay more to government, at least for 20 or 25 euros more. And hotel businesses are not happy about it because they're afraid that Italy may lose competition with their other European countries that are also very popular when it comes to tourism. So yes, I mean, I don't know. Italy is not as any other Western European economy, by the way, is in difficult situation. And they need some money, by the way. They need some money. And I'm not at all surprised that Italy's government is considering to further tax one of the most profitable industries of the country, which is tourism, because Italy is wonderful, by the way. I never been there, but I love history. And Italy, of course, has a great history, like many other countries, like all the other countries. But history of Italy is also stands like as something extraordinary. Also Greece, by the way, obviously, and there are several other countries, isn't it, worldwide. Persia, by the way, Iran, India, China. There are countries that have history, thousands and thousands and thousands of years of history. Egypt, by the way, obviously. So these countries are extremely popular among tourists. Obviously, Italy is one of them. And if pressure is too much, if taxes are too much and travel to Italy is too expensive, then these hotel businesses probably gonna have a point. I mean, they may lose clients because people may travel to Greece, for example, instead of Italy or to France, right? But Italy is wonderful. I hope one day when relationships between Russia and Western states will normalize, I hope I will have opportunity to take my family into Italy to see at least a dozen of cities, by the way, because it's wonderful. Italy, Greece, in Europe for sure. I would like to see Italy and Greece on the world stage. Global South. I mean, China, India, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. There are unbelievable architecture, by the way, there of thousands of years old. Also, of course, Americas, by the way, North and South America. I would like to visit historical sites to see this older architecture of indigenous people there. Africa, obviously, by the way, obviously. Zimbabwe is a wonderful country, isn't it? Zimbabwe is a wonderful country. Egypt, 100%. If you are traveling to Africa, you have to visit South Africa, obviously, and many others, by the way. Kenya. I mean, there's so many places to visit, isn't it? But at this point, me and many people worldwide probably can only dream about traveling. It's just not that easy. Anyways, this is it for now, dear friends. Relatively short update, and I hope you will find it informative, interesting, maybe somewhat entertaining. That would be good. And if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything, any topic. This is the only way we can at least try and influence algorithm. And for same reason, if you can please share information about my channel with your friends in a real life or on internet, on any of the platforms that you are actively using. This is it for now. As I already mentioned, if you think I deserve to be in this space of news and political commentary, please consider to support my work with donation or by subscribing to my Patreon and Boost pages. All the links are on this video in the description box and in the pinned comment. And also crypto, by the way, if you are good with the crypto. Okay, this is it for now. Have a great day and take care.